This is Donna.
And this is TJ.
We're the Hills.
And this is
Dinner
and a Marriage.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back.
Here we are. I put this shirt on and I was like, dang, I should have wore this shirt last week. Because this shirt says, just a small town girl.
Living in a lonely world. Oh my God, that was horrible.
That was awesome.
I will not do that anymore. I apologize.
Huh. He will. He will
Probably
do that again. Yes. So it was funny because, well, let me do shop talk first, I guess, before we get into anything. So here we go.
Wow.
Shop talk, shop talk. Let's do a little shop talk with Donna. Yay! Like, follow, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can see when we are up and running on the YouTube. And I don't think you get the notification on the podcast itself, but please like and subscribe wherever you find podcasts. We are on all of them, so yes, that would be amazing. Amazing. And then we do link in all of our below on the YouTube in the comments and in the podcast to our link tree so that you can check out all of our other social medias.
All the cool stuff that we do.
Yes. This podcast, we're going to cross over to the Hills on Wheels as well because it's really relative to what's going on here right now. So, yeah.
Yep-o.
Yeah. Hey, we do this podcast every week. And we talk about our life. And if you don't know, go back, listen to some of the other podcasts, and yeah, it's all fun stuff.
Yeah, we would probably sometimes benefit from going back and being like, what exactly did we do last week?
Right.
And then being like,
I actually listened to the podcast this morning.
oh, see, you are cooler than me. I did not do that.
Yeah, so last week we talked about living in a small town and that we went to the races and stuff.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on in.
So, it's kind of like this. Did you ever move somewhere? You were like, you have this grand vision in your head. And you're like, even if it's not going to be just like that, I will force feed it to be exactly what I want it to be.
Force feed it.
Well, I'm pretty good at trying to cram things, make them work. Just be like, all right, even if it's not perfect and whatever. But have you ever just been appalled?
Well, I don't know if that's the right terminology.
It kind of is for me. Like, I will say this, to not beat around the bush anymore. So we ended up coming out to where we are, and we have a crazy neighbor. And I don't mean like kind of, sort of, or whatever. I mean just mean, like, whatever.
Just very off.
Well, how about we go back in time? Can you
Yeah.
do this? Right? Like
Yes.
Scooby-Doo. So 2 years ago, well, a year and 10 months ago, if you want to get all super technical, but
Wow.
whatever. I came out here and looked at this property and talked to a gentleman that lived on the back property. I did not know.
Did he talk to you before? Oh, I didn't even know that.
The renter,
Oh, okay.
right? And I didn't realize he was a renter or whatever. He talked to me and the real estate agent. And he was a super nice guy. And he was like, oh, hey, how's it going? What are you guys doing? And she's like, I'm showing this property. And he's like, oh, right on. And he was like, oh, you're thinking about buying this? And I didn't really want to answer that question because
We were still looking.
no, we're just not thinking about buying it. We just wanted to see it. Like, would have been rude.
Yeah. Here's your sign.
Right? So, like, okay, whatever. But anyways, so I go back to where we lived, and then we put the offer in. Then we come back 6 months later.
Something like that. Was it you and me?
4 months. Yeah. It's the first time that we met Dave.
The first time, and it was the first time I'd ever even seen the property because TJ bought it. I mean, I saw photographs, but I hadn't been here before. So we came out on a layover, basically, from one place to another.
Yes.
And checked it out and kind of decided where we wanted to put the house and whatnot.
We were actually doing the layout so that we could have the place that we had contracted to come install our septic, put the septic in the correct location, or at least so that they could do the perk tests and all that stuff.
Yep.
But, we're out there with some string lines and some spray paint and some tools that I keep losing.
Video, because I do have that video if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah. The TJ keeps losing tools video.
TJ loses all the tools.
Wow. So anyways, the part that we didn't have on that video was the neighbor that lives behind us saw us out there and came screaming across our property on his side-by-side, and hopped out in his coveralls and whatever, and in his front zipper pocket he had a handgun, and he was trying to be like he was Mr. Big Time, and he hopped out and goes,
"What are you guys doing here?
Did you guys buy this property?" And we were like, "Yes, we did."
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, "Oh," like he was stunned. And he's like, "Oh, really?" And immediately all of the wind was out of his sails, and
But he was really, he was nice. He
Exactly.
had said some things like, "Oh, neighbors, we're going to be neighbors. It's awesome." We told him it was going to be a while before we moved out.
Referenced, or he made the comment, "We will be neighborly."
Oh, neighborly.
Yes, we will be neighborly.
Okay. Well, anyways, that was the extent of that. And then how many months later?
So then, let's see, it was 7 months later, I came back out here. And
Christian?
Yep. And we ran into Dave again, and he was like, "Oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. Saw you had your septic installed." And he made the comment, "Yeah, they slammed that out really fast." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I was told. I mean, I know from when they said they were going to start until when they sent me the bill, it didn't take that long." Right? And then he was like, "Well, I mean, what are you going to do out here? I mean, you're not old enough to retire." Like, he kind of had like this puzzled conversation with me where, he was a little bit like just questioning, like, why would you move out here if you still had your whole life ahead of you or whatever?
What's funny though is like you talk about it in retrospect now for kind of what what's going on, but before this, which we'll get to, of the way he's behaving and whatnot, you were like, "Oh yeah, Dave seems pretty cool, like a little odd but cool, like."
Yeah.
You never really, now looking back on it, you're like, "Oh, he kind of said some rude stuff."
Oh no, I knew that at the time that he kind of made some backhanded comments, like, neither here nor there. Just, and still after everything that's happened, I think that he's one of those people where he's in the wrong and he wants to poke and prod and say enough like weird stuff to get a reaction out of you so that he can justify his behavior.
Yeah, something. But so anyways, he came over, said, "You're too young to retire."
Yeah, but he was basically like, "Oh, blah, 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 like, when do you plan on moving out here and whatever?" And, we said, "Well, we're still, waiting on the well company." And they've given us like this weird timeline.
10 months or whatever it was.
We've contacted them and they said that, they're behind schedule and all this stuff. And I go, so I don't really know when,
Mm-hmm.
like exactly. I mean, it's going to be sometime next year and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So Christian and TJ had driven out here in hopes of the metal building being delivered. And then it didn't deliver. So they drove back. And then TJ and I flew out.
The following weekend.
Yeah,
It was really dumb.
because then they're like, "Oh yeah, this weekend. My bad." So, but they had prepped a ton of stuff, like put gravel out, got a pad kind of going for where we were going to put the house and or store it. It's not where it's going to be forever. And so we came back out and Dave never came over again. Like we never saw him that time. And we had like a big rig out here putting all that stuff down. Like it was crazy. And I was
we had a whole
surprised that he
semi
never stopped over to be like, "Hey, what are you guys doing now?"
right?
But then it was months and months before we got here.
Yeah, so then it was
Okay.
9 more months and we moved out here.
Right.
And we showed up with the camper and like what? It was 3 days later that the well company showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got the whole drill rig on the property. I mean, it was normal construction stuff,
Right.
but we didn't, the whole time that we've lived here since we got here at the beginning of April, we had never
We hadn't
even heard from the neighbor until 2 weeks ago.
we'd seen him like, because we share an easement, which is, well, is it an easement?
No, it's a road.
It's a road, but we technically share that road. It accesses the back of our property and the front of his property. But it literally dead ends right at both of our entrances to the properties. Like there isn't anywhere else for it to go. But we did previously, you had told Dave, "Oh, I'm going to put a entrance to my property at the front of our property so we didn't have to go past his house every time we came and went."
Well, he asked me what we intended on doing.
Yeah.
And so, knowing that he's been here for a while and whatever, the location that we decided to put the house was due to part of the fact that I'm neurotic, and I'm like, why would you not put your house on the highest ground and make sure that you can like have a 360-degree view of your property? Right. But originally we had thought like, oh, maybe we can like put it further back on the property and whatever. Mm-hmm. But then we were kind of like, well, let's just stay as far away from the neighbors as possible. But we have a road in the front of our property, which is not, it is the main road, but it is nothing that anybody else in the world would consider to be a main road, and not that many cars,
but drive it is the road that all the neighbors use to access their properties.
Yeah, and we're only like 300 feet off of it, when I would have preferred to be about 900 feet off of it. But the way that the land is configured out here, it, in my mind, didn't really work. Which, in retrospect, due to the monsoons that we've had, we picked the best spot. Yeah. But he had said, what did you intend on doing with this? And I said, well, and he goes, are you going to put in a front gate? When I said, okay, yes, because of where we're going to place the house, it makes more sense to put in a front gate, have a shorter driveway, rather than driving all the way around. And then I know that you have motion sensors and all your stuff up. Just to keep, crazy people out. I totally get it. So I've done everything out here that I thought could be the most neighborly thing to do. And there's been nothing so far has been fully acceptable.
Right. So at one time, I think was it Christian that said, "Hey, I keep seeing the neighbor come onto our property and he's dumping."
Yep.
And so we went out there to check it out, and we'll link some of the video too, but he was dumping all of his cow poop out there. Like, which, looking back at our
Deed.
property, the deed and what we own and our property lines, our property line and his property line basically touch. Ours ends at his fence, his begins at that fence. Like, there's nothing in between.
Yes.
So we decided, and when TJ took down the old corral that was back there, to repurpose some of that stuff and make a fence. Right?
Well, yeah, but there was also quasi like an inside fence, basically. Like there was like some cross fencing that was done, but it was, in my mind, in a really stupid location. So when I took that other corral down, I'm like, this interior fence needs to just come down, and I want to use these T-posts. And then I was looking, because there was all the poop dump back there, and there was just kind of like, well, why is he driving over here? Mind you, we have a little over 20 acres, and the neighbor behind us that we're not trying to complain about, we're just explaining what's going on, has a little over 80 acres. So why would this person need to come and dump their cow poop on what he has later, then when he came up and talked to me about, claimed is an easement? So an easement is only something that connects a landlocked piece of property to another one. It is not a dumping grounds. It's not a free-for-all. It's none of that stuff.
Right.
So what he was doing, and why we decided to put up our rear gate and fence, we are completely in the right. Our deed says there is no easement. I've been told that there's what's considered a paper easement. I don't
never heard of that.
know what that is.
I tried to look it up, but I don't know what a paper easement is.
No.
So anyways, we talked about putting up this fence, right? And TJ came up with the great idea to just take it from our corral over to
our neighbor's fence,
the shared fence with the neighbor, so that way it kind of angles out. It stops anyone from coming into our property. It stops anyone from driving up that road and thinking it leads somewhere, because it does not. And so, yeah, he was getting that all prepared to do it. And the neighbor comes over.
Yeah, I was actually washing my tractor one day, and I had our front gate open, and he drove right up onto the property on his four-wheeler, and he said, "You and I need to have a talk." And I said, "Okay, cool. About what?" And he goes, "That fence that you're trying to put up." And I'm like, "Okay. I mean, I don't understand it." I looked at him and I said, "I decided to put this fence up. You haven't talked to me since I've been here since April." And he's like, yeah. And I go, "So what did I do to piss you off?" And he looked at me and just said, "You didn't do anything to piss me off. I'm pissed off in general. I am mad that I had at one point in time the opportunity to buy this property, and I didn't do it because the people did not want to come down to what I was willing to pay for it. And I figured that I would wait it out, and then they would sell it to me." And he goes, "And then you bought it." And his actual words to me were, "And now I have to look down at all your shit, and I don't want to see it." And I had to switch up having coffee on my front porch to having coffee on my back porch so that I don't look at your shit.
And I wasn't here, but just hearing that, I was like, what? Like, we can put a drone footage up on YouTube if you watch this. If you're listening on the podcast, check our links because I'll put some links in there. But we have done a very good job of making everything look very nice. It's not like we brought junk cars out here or crap or whatever. We did have the Connex delivered so we could store all our things in it, but we did paint the Connex so that it matches our other buildings.
It's legit now.
Yeah. It looks really good.
It was not so amazing looking for like a month.
Yeah,
but
it was
big deal.
like bright green. And he mentioned that to TJ.
Yeah, no, he even told me because I was like, hey, Dave, I'm not trying to like have everything that we're doing out here. Like you have to admit like none of this is super ghetto. I even painted the Connex and made sure that wasn't going to stay that way. And he goes, when that thing arrived, he goes, I was so pissed off. He was like, you don't even know. I wanted to start shooting holes in that thing. And I just said, well, that's pretty good. You did do that because it probably would be a bad idea for us to start shooting at each other.
Right.
And he was
real.
like, yeah, that's fine.
But so they came to an agreement, not really agreement. He conceded to say, okay, yeah, put the gate up. But if you put that gate up, he wanted you to do something.
He just wanted me to put in 145-degree angle brace post from our fence to his fence so that our fence never pulled his fence over. Whatever, it's fine. It was
no big deal.
It was not a big deal. It was
like, cool. So we thought at that time, like, okay, we talked to him. Everything's good.
Well, when we were done, because I said, hey, I'm a totally cool guy just out here trying to do my thing and build my house and, just be a good neighbor and whatever. I mean, hell, we want to have people that can come over and, drink a beer and have a barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we want to have some neighbors. And he's like, oh, hell yeah, and whatever. And at the end of the whole thing, he shook my hand. And
he went on his way. He
it was
did
all good.
Also mention, I tried to use my remote for your gate to see if it would work.
Because he has the same brand remote gate as we do.
What? That's weird.
That guy.
Yeah. So then, whatever. A few days go by, and we took a walk, the four of us, and we walked up
a road.
A road that's
by our house. That's
I don't know about
an actual road.
Yeah, but how
it's a quarter
far?
Of a mile.
Okay.
North of our property.
We walked up that road, and on one side of the road is his other 40 acres where he keeps his animals. And we saw it from the road, right? And his dog ran up, whatever. No big deal. We kind of got to the top of that hill and then turned back around and walked down. And then the following day.
Well, I mean, we legit went on a walk.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to go up that road because the kids had not been up that road, and we drove up that road when we came out here a year ago or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's a really cool view from up there.
It's a named road. After a quarter mile, half mile up that road, like you need 4-wheel drive. At the top of the hill from up there is a spectacular view.
Yes.
And so we figured that we would walk, but we started our walk where, I don't know, it was a little bit late. We couldn't have gone much further before. If we would have turned around, it would have been dark when we walked back.
Well, and part of the reason too, and this is me saying like, we are good neighbors, because there were some no trespassing signs, and I wasn't sure which way that was facing. I get that that's a road, but I'm like, I don't really want to go past this because I don't know, like.
Yeah, no, we were very cautious and just like, oh, well, whatever. So, I mean, either way, if we turned around, it was
still a good hour
the four of us
and,
and,
whatever.
The little dog, and it was fine. And
yeah.
I don't know, but
we thought nothing of it. So we come home, do our thing, and then the following day,
yep,
Christian said
he went to the back of the property where he normally hangs out, because our property is not flat, but there's not like a ton of trees on it. They're kind of sporadic, and we've got some cool stuff here and there, but in the back corner of our property, there's about 2.5 acres that is well treed.
Yeah.
And Christian really likes that area of the property because there's a bunch of trees, and they've gone camping back there, and like it is actually a really cool spot. It is, because it's the back of the property, the closest part of the property to our neighbor's property. And I think that he wants to just keep us as far away from him as he possibly can.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's, them going back there as often as they do because there is some cool stuff and it is legitimately pretty awesome.
Because they're still kind of kids and exploring. And I shouldn't even say kids necessarily, because I walk the property all the time, because like looking for rocks, looking for pottery, doing whatever. Like I own the property. I should be able to walk every inch of it. I will. If I want
that
to.
Is the thing is what's gone on with our neighbor. He is trying to be intimidating, and he is trying to keep us as close to the front of our property as he possibly can.
Yeah.
And doing it in a means by which I will smile and nod until they decided to post a sign. But what I was trying to say is you really need to know who you start to like mess with, because I have a great deal of patience and I could wait years and years and years. And
it comes with the fact that you can hold a grudge forever. It's like both of that, your patience. And
I am one of the nicest people you will ever meet.
Oh, for sure.
I absolutely am. I don't know.
But don't get on his
Hell hath
side.
no fury, like a woman's scorn, or TJ. Right?
See, we're totally opposite in that way, because like someone might bother me and whatever, and I'll just be like, cut out. Like, that's it. I just, whatever. And then I never let it bother me again. But I also let things go a lot faster and easier than TJ does.
I can let things go. Like, if you're walking by, somebody bumps you, even if you know they did it on purpose, you can be like, okay, whatever. Now, if you turn around and 10 minutes later, the same person bumps you again on purpose,
then it's on like Donkey Kong.
Well, no, at that point in time, you can maybe take it, and still go, I'm going to try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to turn this into some shit.
Right.
But then you're going to go into all 37 different scenarios in your brain that could possibly happen because of that.
Right.
And when I get to that point to where I have to go through all 37 scenarios, the outcome for the other person is not ever good.
Yeah. So what did Christian find back there?
He found a sign. He found a really cool sign.
Yeah. So the neighbor decided they're going to
be super passive aggressive.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's what I was going to say. Exactly. Passive aggressive. But Christian says, oh yeah, he put this sign out and this is what it says. And we're like, what? And I assume like it's a sign at his gate or whatnot. But no, he put the sign on the inside of his fence, but on the inside of our property, so that
yes,
when we walk to the back of the property, you see this sign.
But he put it right next to his fence, like a foot away.
Yeah.
And his sign reads as, and I quote, "People move out here to be left alone. Stop being a nosy neighbor. Mind your own business. Exclamation point.
So I'm like, what the heck? right? This sign. And I said, the only thing I could think of, maybe because we walked up that street and kind of turned around by his property, I guess, that he thought we were like trying to look at what he has or something. But we were just taking a walk. We don't care what he has, what he doesn't have, what he's doing, what he's not doing. We honestly want him to mind his own business and leave us alone. Really?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they put that sign up and he's the one that's been like, as he said, looking down on us because
Right.
his house is kind of up further on a hill than where
Yeah.
we are. Basically paying attention to everything that we do up until the point where we decide to build a fence and then he has to come to us and say something. Wouldn't that make him the nosy neighbor?
Yeah.
Um,
And the funny thing about it, so when it first happened, I was like, okay, well, we're not going to do anything. And TJ was like, oh, the hell we aren't. We're going to retaliate.
no,
We're
I was
going to
like
write a
sign war.
Yeah, sign back. Do this, do that. And we walked out there and did some video, and we did have some pretty good comebacks though. Like, you were going to put a sign that said,
No, so this is the thing that's really funny. Like, and anybody, I know that there's some people that listen to our podcast that are from the Washington State area. So this will make a lot of sense.
right.
But so he's from California. He moved here 4 years ago from California. It's not like he's some native and been here forever and he's all mad or whatever. He's just from California, moved out here to retire. And we came here from Washington State. So with his nasty sign that he had, my like first thing that I thought of, because I thought it'd be hilarious, is, you know, like the Seahawks and the 49ers rivalry and whatever, is to just put a sign up that said, "You mad, bro?" I still think that would
But
be
he doesn't
epic.
even want to put a sign up. He's like, I want to put it like on our slanted roof.
I
So
wanted
it's
it to be our whole entire roof when the house is done.
You mad, bro?
It'd be so
funny.
huge and it'd be so amazing. So there's all these scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And I've talked myself to the edge of the cliff. I've talked myself off the cliff.
Yeah.
You've talked me off the cliff.
Yeah.
Like, we've just had all these conversations and we were like, should we even bring this up on social media?
Yeah.
Like, should we talk about it? Should we not talk about it? But what's funny is now when he drives by the property, he drives slower.
He used to haul
He
butt.
used to just haul ass. Now
Yeah.
he drives slower.
Yeah.
And he's like waiting for a reaction. And he wants a reaction, but we're still not going to give him a reaction.
Unless he watches the podcast.
Yeah, maybe he will, but still he's going to see and listen to me say that I'm not going to like even have any type of reaction other than
Right.
the fact that I'll tell people about it just because
It's funny.
I personally think that it's that bizarre.
But I
That
feel like, so it's such a tough thing with people that are passive aggressive. Like, you either do nothing and they just keep doing something, or
well, he put a weird light up now.
right now he
That's
has
the other thing.
like a spotlight to our
Now he has
property,
this
like-
big light down at the end of his property that's like facing directly towards us. And I noticed it at like 7:00 this morning and it was bright and it was daylight. And now I need to check tonight and actually see if I can see it on. Cause if that's the case, oh man, like
I was
Halloween's
like-
going to be epic is all I got to
Yeah.
say.
I was like, oh, cool. He's lighting up our property. That's awesome. Like, that doesn't even bother me. Other than it's just so weird. The whole thing's weird because it's not like we're doing anything. We own this property. We are building on it. It is totally no. It's so weird to have to talk about this now because we'd lived in neighborhoods before, and I've always been that neighbor that like, hi, wave, and then I just go in my house. I really keep to myself. I'm not.
If she wasn't married to me, she wouldn't have known any of her neighbors.
It's probably true. I've just never been that person that like, hey, what are you guys doing? What's up with this? Were you building something? Is that grass? Like,
Right? Is that far enough away from my property line?
right? I feel like you're encroaching. But anyways, I've just never been like that. So it's just weird to have it come at you like that. Like, you're being a nosy neighbor. What?
No, I would rather have somebody like roll up onto my property with a gun rather than put a sign up like that. That's just the way I roll. Like, I would rather just know.
Say what you feel,
Right?
not like,
Let's just get it all out and let's
Yeah.
know. And if you want to try to be as intimidating as you possibly think you need to be, then let's just get it all out on the table. And hopefully you can leave feeling better about yourself or whatever. But the sign makes you look like such an asshole.
yeah. So,
Like, it doesn't really even. I was bothered for a few hours after the sign went up.
yeah.
And it was mainly just because it's like, we shook hands when you left before. Why don't you just show back up and have the whole conversation you really want to have?
right.
Or, I'm all about the buyout.
Oh, right.
Just saying.
That was the other sign he said. I'm going to put up a sign that says, if you can read this.
No, basically, like, I think that he is one of those weird people that thinks we care about whatever the hell he's doing on his property. And I don't really know what he's doing, right? He
don't
drives a
think he
side by side. He
Yeah,
has
I don't
some animals and stuff. Good for him, man. He's retired. He's going to do his thing. But I know that he's got some binoculars or something and he's spying on us because he basically admitted it when he came over here, when he was like, I see everything you do and whatever. But, you know, I'm
Creepy.
about to put a sign in just really small letters where you'd have to have like binoculars or, you know, some type of freaking scope to read it, but basically just says you can find happiness for such and such dollar amount, and then just put my phone number at the bottom.
And see if he calls.
That'd be super funny.
It is funny. But part of that, like you said, we went back and forth with, I was like, we are not posting any of this. We're totally not doing it. Da da da. But then after the sign thing and then now the light, and now we have our other neighbors telling us, oh yeah, he's mad. Like, what?
It's got to at least be documented, because I'm not going to do anything like I'm not going to try to threaten him, and I'm not trying to start some war, and I don't want some feud, and I don't want all this
Yeah, 'cause we
weirdness.
still live here. Like,
Right.
if he, like you said though, like if he wanted to buy us out and pay for the property and everything on it,
With my inconvenience fee attached.
right? If he wanted to do that, we'd be more than willing to leave. There's many, many other properties out here that we could.
Well, and what's funny is talking to the other neighbor today, they said
Sorry.
what he's so concerned about is that we took away his view.
But it wasn't his. I mean, that's
No.
air is free. I don't
We
know.
have not even put the house up yet.
Yeah, he's gonna be pissed.
Right?
When that
If he's
happens.
even remotely mad now,
He's
like,
gonna have zero view when our house is up.
it's gonna be god awful.
Yeah. For him, it'll be like, it's a monstrosity.
Right? It's gonna and this is nothing that we ever intended. We were never trying to be like those people. And
I never really even thought about like his view. Like, why would I?
he never brought it up when he was talking to us before. He should have asked us, hey,
He watched us lay out the house.
what he should have done at that point in time was
Try to buy us out at that time.
offer us like another $10,000 above what we paid for the property if it really mattered to him that bad.
Yeah.
Because the world as he knows it is, and the landscape here, I'm going to say if you give it 5 more years, and if you were to take drone footage of our property from now until then, it's going to be amazing. Like,
Yeah.
we are coming out here to do something incredible. But what it's going to change from what he knew it as is going to be like life altering.
Yeah.
And I
I
found out today also that it was because of $6,000.
Yeah, that's what you said. He was $6,000 shy of the asking price of the property and was holding out.
Yep, he wanted them to go down, and they did not want to go down, and he figured he'd hold out, and then we bought the property.
We swooped in there. We had no idea.
We had no idea.
We just realtor showed
we
it
bought
to
it
him.
from out of state. I saw it for 12 minutes. Whatever.
Right.
We were like, this is pretty dope.
But it was the best of all the ones you saw.
This is like one of those things, though. I have to bring this up on this episode of us talking about this, though. This is like one of those weird things where you were like, no, just go out there. And if you find something amazing, like, we'll just buy it. I trust you.
Yeah.
We find this property. We end up with a neighbor from hell.
Right. Wow.
In 6 months, everything could be super weird.
I'm
And
glad
she's
it
going
was
to be
you
like,
and- I'm glad
are
it
you
was you
freaking
and not
kidding
me."
me? Right?
Because if it was me, I'd never hear the end of it.
Isn't that kind of being passive aggressive about me? Yeah, it is. That's
what?
You just did a Dave sign. You did.
Here's your shine.
Yep. Here's your sign of me being mean to you.
You mad, bro?
I'm sad, bro.
I'm sad, bro. Oh, that sucks.
I don't know. So what do you think we should do? Should we have a sign war? Should we
Right.
have a light war?
A light war.
Oh, dude.
Oh, no. The only thing that we're going to do is what we were planning to do, and that is make an epic Halloween decorations and be freaking amazing. And he's probably going to hate it, but I'm okay with it.
I have big lights prepared for that one, though.
Yeah.
But that's always been our whole deal.
Yeah.
Everybody has to also understand that from where our house is on our property and where the camper is right now currently on the property, in conjunction to where his house is on his property, is 1/4 of a mile.
Yeah. It's not like
it's far, far away. It's like
close.
he lives with Shrek. Or he lived with the Queen. Or Fiona. I don't know. The land of far, far away. The land of far, far away.
Oh, that was really roundabout way of getting there.
Whatever. Princess Fiona.
Princess Fiona.
Yes.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Well, so that's the thing.
It's the newest thing.
What should we do? Any suggestions? You can leave it in the comments.
I think that we should
send us
just
a message.
Yes, go about still just being awesome and
Meh. But
I don't know. It'll be good.
If you're listening to this on the podcast, I will post photos in the YouTube and put a link on the podcast for the YouTube channel.
We have some crappy video to throw in there also. Just so everybody knows we're not lying.
It's not crappy. It's video.
Actual crap.
It's off our phones. Yeah.
It's of actual crap.
Of actual bullshit.
Yes.
Yes.
The dung.
And he says that a lot in the video. It's kind of funny. I'm like, okay. It's manure. Manure. It's actually not yet, is it? Is manure when it's mixed with something else?
No, the thing is
Don't
like
they wet it or something? Because it's super dry.
so horse stuff and like other stuff and whatever is
Considered manure?
yeah, but this is like cow pies that got dropped on like sand, all the moisture sucked out of them, baked in the Arizona sun for like a week, like completely almost like brittle dry. I don't even know if you could
They're like frisbees.
yeah, but could you reconstitute it and then turn it into fertilizer?
I don't know. We'd have to look that up. So, if anything, thanks for the fertilizer, bro.
Right? Free stuff, man.
Yeah. Oh, and they are building a tumbleweed fence.
Oh, yes. They have now in that back section where they had the sign, they did move the sign closer to their gate. then angled the sign towards our gate, which is weird because we don't really
never
go
use
through it
that
that much.
gate.
But then they piled up a whole bunch of tumbleweeds for like 150 feet long. And since he was all worried about his fence falling over, they piled all this shit up against it on his side. I don't know.
Whatever.
It all got wet from all the monsoon rains,
Oh,
and now
right.
it stinks weird, but it'll go away once it dries. But
Really?
that's all it is just that.
Stinky pile of turd.
The whole thing is just bizarre. This is our world. We just figured we'd tell you about it.
Yeah. This is our world, and you're just a guest in it for now.
But yeah, what would you do? I don't know. I kind of want to know. I want to
do
know
too.
what other
I wanna
people
know
would
what
do.
other people think, for sure.
Be like, leave it alone, see what happens. That's what I want to do, because I want to know, like, because he already said he was angry, right?
Yeah.
Like, be angry, cool.
Right.
But what other type of weird stuff will he do? Maybe, I don't know. And then what should the retaliation be? Whether it just be a cool sign that just says "I love you."
Love thy neighbor. That's
Or-
the sign I wanted to put up.
You're number one, but the number sign and then the actual middle finger.
Oh my. I
You
say,
mad, bro?
love thy neighbor.
Can we still be friends, homie?
I don't have any other things to say.
I don't know. There's lots of stuff that I could just
Keep on keeping on.
right? Like, what is it? What was the Bud Light one way back in the day? I love you, man.
I love you, man.
Like-
oh my gosh, right?
It would be just
Put
funny.
a 6-pack of beer and a sign out. Love
Right?
You. Love you, man.
Oh, man. We could put a little wagon up by his gate with that whole sign with like some crying dude with some beer in it.
Wow. Intricate.
Oh,
That was
see,
like-
but that's what I would do. Like, instead
No,
of
you
being like a
wouldn't.
total dickweed, I would be like, oh, that'd be awesome. And who wouldn't be all super excited to get some free beer?
Oh, if you're that angry though, anything we do, he's gonna be like, "Oh, that just makes you
Okay,
mad.
then a free case of
How
beer.
dare
Maybe
they
that'll
be
be enough to make him not
nice.
so mad.
They probably poisoned this."
Oh,
It'd be
right.
all kinds of stuff. Who knows? Give us your opinion.
A 12-pack of Angry Orchard spiked.
Is it already
Awful,
spiked?
right? That's what I mean. It's just like,
Oh.
because you were like, oh, you're going to like
Poison them.
poison him? Like, no, but the poison apple, come on
I'm
now.
all about karma, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess we're out for today's karma edition of Dinner and a Marriage.
We'll give you an update next week. Bye. And before you go, visit us on our social medias at Linktree /The Hills on Wheels, linktr.ee /The Hills on Wheels, no spaces.